that there's people who, and in the States you spoke about like the neutral middle people. I find that there's such a highly polarized partisanship there. It is here, but not to the same extent. I mean, we've got A4 parties. I mean, I guess the Green Party doesn't really count in the sense they only have one seat on Vancouver Island. Like Vancouver Island is kind of our California, right? We have like almost no conservatives, mostly NDP. NDP is further left than the Liberals.
Yeah, that's
like
the Indian guy, right? The head of the party.
Yeah, Jagmeet Singh is the name of the leader of the National Party. Yeah, Jagmeet Singh. So they're pretty, I guess, socialist. I guess you could argue. Some really good people run for the NDP, but they'll never get in nationally, probably, mind you. I don't know. I guess, like you have Trump, right? So I don't know what's going to happen. Things happen. So I didn't expect that. So there you go. But
yeah, I don't think many of us did.
No, I think that was a bit of a shocker. We all
I don't think even he did. I don't even think
I don't think he did. It's quite amazing, really. But
yeah,
I guess.
It kind of shows like how all in our system is, and again, this is kind of like why certain people who've been neutral have become activated. It's like because like first off, he didn't even get the most votes in the general election, so
yeah,
it's not even like most people vote.
Didn't Hillary win like she won like the majority vote, right? Like didn't she actually technically have more votes than he did?
Yeah, she totally had more votes than him. Totally, yeah. And so, and he was never his highest popularity was like 48% or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
His highest. Yeah. So he's never been popular. He didn't get the most votes, and he comes into power, and they are all in on their agenda, separating families. Just like meeting with super right-wing dictators, all the stuff with Putin. It's just kind of endless, and it just sort of shows how our system can like there can be some bad outcomes if the president's the wrong person.
Right. So quick question, with Donald Trump then, so are you, what's your opinion? I mean, I'm assuming you're not a fan, but I'm just wondering, so are you of the opinion that he is dangerous, or are you just of the opinion that he is stupid? Because I mean, there's a difference, right?
Kind of both, which is the scary thing. He's also a little he's reckless, and he's very like he'll just on a whim just kind of do things that are very destructive. You just look at his Twitter feed.
He says a lot of destructive things. I mean, I don't know if he always backs up the crazy shit that he says with policy, which I guess is what's important, but he definitely says, I mean, I stand by the fact that he should have his Twitter taken away. I don't think that sometimes I just look him up just to read it, just for the hell of it, because it's like, what's Trump saying today over and over again? Because he's always got some little rant about something or other. He's a little ridiculous. I mean,
he's very good at using. He's very good at using the media as like a giant air horn to magnify his view of the world. I feel like that to me is one of the scariest things too. Is like he deliberately lies, and people believe his lies.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, he's not the most honest person. I mean, he seems like he's sort of pulls shit out of his. Pulls stuff out of his ass.
He does it for. I think he's actually pretty good at politics, right? Because like he knows there's a group of people who he can get to believe what he wants, and then he can piss them off, make them feel angry and scared, and he's very good at like fighting for his position, even if his position is wrong.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just believe what he said. Yeah, and so I think that a lot of those things make things very scary, because like he could I don't know, go to war or something, and he could again, like the family separation stuff, like if it weren't for people getting into the streets and protesting it, they might still be doing it. And the government had a deadline to reunite all the families, and they missed it. So they've been doing some horrible stuff on immigration. The stuff on trade is insane. Like they put tariffs on Canada. It's like, what?
Yes, they sure did.
It's just really crazy to me that he's really attacking our allies and becoming friends with people that are basically our enemies, or people who are against freedom and democracy. He just cozies up with all these demagogues, right-wing demagogues in Europe, and he met with Kim Jong-un and didn't really get anything out of the meeting. Met with Putin, and he seemed to be overtly like subservient to him, and going against our own intelligence community. Then there's the whole Russia Gate whatever's going to happen with that, every day there's a new insanity. Like today, Rudy Giuliani was coming out saying all these ridiculous things, like things that no one had even heard of. Like, oh yeah, well, because there was a meeting between his son, Donald Trump Jr., and I think some Russian people or something like that. And, like the question was always, did Trump know about that meeting?
Right.
And Rudy Giuliani says today, oh, well, collusion isn't a crime. And people are like, wait, what? What?
I think it might be.
yeah, but that's what he said. It's like, oh, collusion's not a crime. So I mean, and then they're like, wait, so does that mean that he did collude and it wasn't a crime? He's like, oh, no. I'm just he wasn't there. He didn't know. But all I'm saying is, if he did collude, it wasn't a crime. You know what I'm saying? And it's just total insanity, and they're just super incompetent is the problem to me, So it's been bad. I think if someone's like I had a discussion with a guy, Netscape. He's like a conservative, like a mainline conservative. So we disagree philosophically on things, but we're not really in opposition in a way that I would be with someone like Trump, who's like, I think, an extremist. So people like him kind of begrudgingly kind of like some of the things that are happening because he's made sure that all of our courts are far more conservative. So that means that things like gun rights are going to be kept in place the way they are.
Sorry, that kind of cut out. What type of rights? Sorry, just cut out.
Gun rights. Gun rights. So like
gun rights. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
They put two. Well, they're at least trying to. They got one pretty conservative guy, and now they're trying to get another even more conservative guy on the Supreme Court. And so that would ensure that gun rights are going to be pretty safe for 20 years. So we had an interesting conversation because I was, he was saying, oh, I wish we all collectively believed in these things like, like civic nationalism and respect for the rule of law. And I told him like, hey, do you think that Trump respects the rule of law? And he was basically like, no, and it's so that's kind of the problem is like they've made this bargain where they're getting stuff from Trump, but it's destroying the culture, I think, and that's the real problem with Trump. Is it's creating this polarization and it's creating this divide in the country that can't really be healed,
Right. Do you feel like it's a palpable increase in polarization? Like as an American, I mean, I'm only seeing it from the outside. As an American in California, I mean, you have a certain specific position. Would you say it's been worsened? Would you say it's just worsened because of media, or would you say that people are actively do you think it's caused an increase in tension, I guess?
Well, I think that it has caused people to go into their bubble more because, at least for me, like I pay attention to the news a fair amount. So like the more I pay attention, the more I am unhappy with his policies across the board. Like his tax policies are very much in favor of rich people. His economy is stilted towards the rich and corporations. His immigration policy to me is like unethical. Like they're taking the children away from refugees. Like people come to like seek refugee status, and then they take their kids. Like that is totally unacceptable. Totally unacceptable.
What is that's another question I have, because I have opinions on that, but I have to understand something before I kind of give an opinion. So, like in Canada, we have we have our regular immigration process, our vetted immigration, which is obviously a long process, and we have our refugee numbers that we accept as well. And then we have, well, we don't have much illegal immigration until recently, which is a different discussion, but so very different than the States. But when it comes to being a refugee, so what would, other than coming through the country legally at a non-border crossing, what would be the advantage, or like why would someone come across not legally, I guess is my question. Because I mean, I don't agree with Trump on a lot of things, but number one, I also am confused because I thought 2009 was actually when this policy was brought in by a much, I can't remember the name, but like a much larger court than it wasn't Trump that actually started it. Now he enforced it more. I know he's been more strict on it, but it was actually a 2009 administration
I think
policy.
What you're talking about is, so there's a rule that's in place that says that we have a time period by which we have to basically do something with the family. Yeah, we have to process the family basically. It's like 20 days or 30 days or something like that.
Right.
So, but that's kind of separate than the family separation policy. But the only thing that
No,
comes
but
into
the
play
separation
when
policy wasn't started by Trump either. It was enforced by Trump
no, I
more than it
mean
was. He didn't make it up though.
no,
That's what you.
no,
I'm
no, no,
pretty
no, no,
sure.
no, 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 no. We never did. What he's
I'm
taking
not saying it did.
people
I'm
who
not
are
saying it was
refugees.
fun. I'm saying
Oh
I
no,
don't
no,
think he
I
invented
understand.
the
I'm
policy
saying
though. I just don't
he
think Obama enforced it.
no one before would like see someone who's coming to try and get refugee status and then take their kids away. We never
No,
did that before
so
Trump. Never,
this is
never.
something that I struggle with because I watched a lot about this, and when I first saw it, I thought, "My God, this is the worst thing I've ever heard," and I was mortified. And then I realized I was watching CNN, so I made sure I watched. I don't really watch Fox News, to be fair. I'm not on that side. I don't mind Tucker Carlson because he's funny, although I don't always agree with him. And I think Greg Gutfield's funny because he's a libertarian. I pretty much hate everybody else, so I just so you know, I'm not getting my news
Okay.
from Fox. Tend to go independent, generally speaking. I like to follow people that are willing to call out Trump when he does something shitty and call or say that he's okay when he does something that's not. And I don't particularly follow anyone that says he's a Nazi, I guess, put it that way. As soon as I hear
Okay.
someone say he's a fascist or a Nazi, I don't buy anything they say anymore. So this is where I have trouble with this situation because there was this horrible experience that all happened, right? And it's not good. It's not good for anybody. And I don't think anybody's in agreement with it. Canadian, I mean, there was people up here protesting. I mean, even a lot of Republicans, I think, felt like this wasn't okay. And it's
Yeah, they
not
were
okay. I'm
against
not in
it. They were
any
against it on
yeah, I'm
principle.
not condoning it whatsoever. What I get concerned about is this became so, as everything does, so politically disgustingly playing on people's emotions to the point where like Time magazine is putting out a picture that isn't even real. How do you know what's actually happening when you get so much emotionally charged, I guess, human interest story with no, with no, I guess, discussion of the other side of the people? Because what happens when we say that this is going on, we are now accusing. We have to understand. So this is what happens in Canada too. We have racial issues as well going on with the Aboriginal people here
Yeah, yeah.
with justice and whatnot. And that's fine. You know, we had a case where someone was let go and there was a belief that he shouldn't have been acquitted of murder. He
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Now the belief is okay, well, that their lives don't matter, et cetera, et cetera. So we need to reform the justice system because the jurors were racist. So okay, fine. So we're gonna make this assumption then by assuming, okay, how do I put this? This is something I've learned in general, and this is across the board, not just this scenario, but by assuming or by being, I guess, a warrior for someone who is disadvantaged. So in this case, it would be the refugee and the children who are obviously in need of help, in need of assistance. They're the underdog in this situation. So you look out for them, and that's good. But when it comes in conflict with now assuming that everyone else involved is a terrible person, because now we have to assume that all the border control agents are assholes, right? We have to assume that they're racist. We have to assume they don't care. We have to assume that you know what I mean? Like we have to really assume that this is like a massive effort to like hurt people. And so what concerns me is not the fact that it's happening needs to stop. And I'm happy to see that it's sort of in the process, although obviously it's nowhere near. What concerns me is just the amount of emotion that was put out and the amount of like, oh, he's ripping these children. And like CNN has got to be the most emotionally driven
Yeah, I
propaganda
understand.
thing. As bad as Fox or
I
worse, I would
I
say.
think what's interesting about your opinion is it's almost like you're saying, I can't believe that he would like do something this terrible. That's
Mhm.
kind of what I'm getting from what you're saying.
Well, I'm not.
And
I mean, I'm not a Trump supporter. I just don't want to
yeah,
sound like I don't care about the children because I do. But what I guess I'm having a problem
well,
with, and what I think
well,
other Republicans, if I could speak
yeah,
for them, they probably don't buy it because of how much media lying has already happened. So
well,
let's say
yeah. I mean,
CNN and whoever else hadn't
that's
already done
partisanship. Yeah,
so much damage, and this has nothing to do with Trump saying the media, the media. I mean, he could never say that, and it wouldn't change the unbelievable media bias in everything from like comedians to whatever. Like, I don't even watch your comedians anymore because all they talk about
sure.
is Trump, and it's not even funny.
So
Like, there's nothing
I'll
funny in
just
the whole
answer the
world.
question.
Gone
So you
over.
asked
Where did
like,
you go?
yeah. So you asked like, is this really this bad? Are we accusing him of doing these things on
This is
purpose?
my point because you
And
start
the
to
truth of
question everything, and I'm not saying that you should,
the truth of
but
the
that's what
matter is yes.
happens, right?
The truth of the matter is yes. They're doing it on purpose. They created the child separation policy, which was created by Jeff Sessions, as a way of
Okay, so what is the
deterring people.
intention?
So it was a way
So
of
okay,
deterring
fair enough.
people. So that's
Yeah,
what they thought. They
yeah,
thought it would deter people, right? And then that failed. But then they followed through with it. And what's even worse was
right.
so they're separating families. And at first they had no they had no plan to reunite them. They had no plan.
Mhm,
So they would take to separate the family, take the kids, deport the parents, and then be
mhm.
like, oh, how do we reunite them? I mean, the stories are horrible. Like there were
Oh,
some
I'm certain, yeah.
where they lied to the kid. They told the kid, "Oh, your parent left you. They don't care about you anymore." They've done stuff like that. They like there are reports of the kids being sexually assaulted by the people taking care of them. It's really bad. And yes, I mean it sucks, but this is the truth. They did it on purpose. They did it because they thought, "Whoa,
Okay, so
look,
then, okay,
we
so hold
want a
on.
hard
What's your
line
opinion on
immigration
why?
policy." You know
So
what's
do you
that?
believe then that no, and I'm not, again, I'm not a Trump fan. He's obviously like, he's a cheater, he lies, he's a businessman. I'm not a big fan of crony capitalism in the sense of big business. So I mean, I've never liked Donald Trump. So I don't in any way, like I said, I wouldn't have voted for him. That being said, I don't know what I would have done. I think you guys got really screwed because they picked Hillary as the Democratic, party candidate. And I think had they picked almost anybody else, I don't think that Trump won as much as Hillary lost, in my opinion. It's a
That's
lot of way that
pretty
people
accurate.
up
Yeah.
here look at it, right? And so I'm no fan. I'm really not condoning it, and I don't condone the policy, but this is where I say, coming from a Canadian point of view, or anybody that's not at the border and can't actually see what's happened, hasn't maybe been like yourself, talked to someone, had a personal anecdotal experience. All we see is the media. So you get the Fox News media defending it stoutly, which I don't believe. And then you get CNN saying, this is just Nazi Donald Trump trying to eradicate another race because he's a racist pig. And then I'm like, okay, but you always say he's a racist pig. So I don't know what, I never know what to believe in America when it comes to the media, because
Sure.
you guys' media is so polarized. So it's like you can't really trust one or the other because they're both being fed by a different party. And
Sure.
so I do think the immigration thing has been used for political gain and advantage. I think that
Yeah.
people are using that. There's an argument now, I don't know if it's true, but a lot of Democrats want just open borders. Now, that's a whole different discussion altogether. So is that true? Is it, what policy would be okay?
So yeah,
Is
let
there
me
anything that would be okay?
sort of answer like the
Mhm,
question. Like, I mean, look, from everything that I know, okay.
mhm,
Now, if people want to believe something else for their political reasons, okay. From
mhm,
all the facts that can be gathered, they've been doing this on purpose, and it's been a disastrous policy and a harmful. And I mean,
mhm,
and the stuff they've done to refugees, like that's basically a breach of human rights, you
mhm.
know. And
So,
again, they
I
do this
guess my
because they're just
question.
hardliners. They're hardline
Mhm,
anti-immigration people. Like they've been waiting for a long time to do these kind of policies.
mhm,
And if it weren't for the blowback, they'd still be doing it. They
mhm.
would.